Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Sean, and well, I don't have any kids. Um, there's some things I'd probably want to teach the world. People seem to think that I do certain things pretty well, so I figured I'd start shooting videos of things that people say that I do well, and share them with the rest of the world, so that way, you pass it on for kids that didn't have somebody to teach them certain things, like ironing a shirt. So that's what we're going to do today, where it's something that I do every single week. I do my laundry at the laundromat, and I've been using the same ironing board for probably about 10-12 years. You can see that it's a little dirty, a little worn, but still works fine. So it's something that you invest one time. You spend, I think I spent $12 or $13 on this ironing board, and it's worked ever since then. And an iron. This iron I actually got when I was in boot camp, or just after boot camp rather. Bought it at the commissary, or the PX rather. And it's worked great ever since. I've been a waiter as well, so not only did it iron military uniforms, BDUs, Class A's, Class B's, which I think they changed the name of the BDUs at this point, but yeah, it's also ironed all of the white shirts and all kinds of other uniforms that I've worn for pretty much every job I've ever had. So if you buy, I think I spent $20 some on it, maybe if that. But we're talking almost 20 years ago. So this is about 20-year-old iron, and it still works great today. So a couple of things that are gonna be important to longevity of your iron. You don't ever want to put tap water in your iron. Don't ever put tap water in your iron. Reason being is there's a lot of sediment in the tap water, and what that's going to do is it's going to clog the holes in your iron. So it's going to clog it up, and it's going to be junk, and you'll have to throw it away and buy another one. So what I do is, when I near the end of my bottles of water, I buy just standard drinking water from my local gas station. But when I have an empty water bottle in my car that's gotten too hot or something like that, I'll bring it inside, I'll store it in the gallon, and I'll use this water, which isn't really good for drinking anymore. Rather than throwing it away, I'll use it in the iron. So I have a few gallons. You probably see that other one down there on the floor, and it just accumulates. And I do this every week, so I always have extra on hand. So I actually do need to go ahead and fill the iron. So filling an iron is really simple. You've got a fill glass here that you can see how much water you're putting in there, and then you just dump it in the hole like that. Can't be any easier. And then you'll see it get kind of full, and there it is, right there at the top where my finger is. I don't know if you could see it on the video, but it's right there. So once you've got your iron full, you can turn on the iron. Now when you turn on your iron, you don't want to turn it on too hot. You just want it to the point where it starts to steam. And there's a whole thing here that tells you for what kind of fabric. I don't know, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm not a seamstress or anything else, but I always turn mine on right about there, just to where it starts to get the steam. So that way you can steam the clothes, because you're going to have to press the creases in your arms, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. There's also a button here that says up for steam. You want to make sure that that's up, so that way we can steam the shirt. My particular iron has not only a steam button, which is here, it also has a spray button here, so it will spray water onto the fabric if you need it to remove any deep wrinkles. But you shouldn't have any deep wrinkles, because when you wash your clothes, right after you're done washing your clothes, you should iron your shirts and not ball them up in like into a little ball, because then you'll have nasty wrinkles and then you'll have more ironing to do. So let's see. So we talked a little bit about the settings on the iron, just ran through that. So let's go into the process of ironing, and I have a camera up above as well as a camera in front, so I'll try and switch between the two. Looks like I'm not quite. Hear it? So that means your iron's hot, producing steam. So first things first, you lay down your shirt, and obviously you're seeing this backwards, but you're seeing this in above as well. You want to lay down the collar, lay it nice and flat, and you go over the collar. And you'll hear I give it a little bit of steam there. Make your collar nice and flat, and that's that. Second, on some shirts you'll notice that this seam right here will fold over, and it'll fold in half like that, and you need to take care of that before you continue to iron your shirt. So I usually start at the bottom, I just fold it over, I give it some steam, and I run it up that center. There you go. So now my buttonholes are all nice and flat. Now chances are, if it does it by where the buttonholes are, it'll also do it on the side where the buttons are. So this is the side with the buttons. Again, same principle. I'm going to just lay this out. And this is rough. This is rough. It doesn't have to be exact. Good enough. Good enough. My shirt's sliding there because of the weight. Because remember, all of this is going to be on the inside of the shirt. Nobody's going to see it anyway. You want to be careful. You don't ever really want to iron over your buttons. That'll heat the buttons up too much, and then you'll see people with cracked buttons a lot of times. That's why, is because they ironed over the buttons. So we did our collar. We took care of the fold over pieces at where the shirt buttons. You're going to start with the left side of your shirt. Sling the left side over this ironing board like this, and you're going to pull it all the way into the arm right here. Very important that you give yourself all that room, because then we're going to be able to take this iron and lay it down like that, and I'm going to tug this bottom of my shirt just a little bit and pull it down. Just very lightly pull the shirt down, just to keep it straight while I iron. And you can let the steam go at random times. You don't need to keep pushing the steam button, because the steam is going to get caught in between the board and the shirt. And there you go. So now, second step, from the left front of the shirt, we're going to move to the left shoulder. Now we've got the left shoulder here all exposed. I can stand just to the side of my ironing board and pull that up, and I can go right around that shoulder. Now all of that's going to be nice and flat. From the left shoulder, we just slide the shirt over just a little bit. We could do the right shoulder. There you go. Right shoulder's done. Now from there, we move to the right front of the shirt. So again, I'm going to pull this up just a little more so that the corner of this ironing board is actually into the sleeve of the shirt. Fold this over like that, just so that way when I come up to these buttons, I can go right in between them like this. In between, in between, in between, all the way down. Now my shirts, I don't know where you get your shirts. My shirts all come from the thrift store. any local thrift store. I just pop in whenever I need some more. And you know what? I spend about $3, $4, $5 on these shirts sometimes, and I wear them for a long time. I'm not too rough on my clothes. It's just better than paying $50 or $60 per shirt, and then you know, it's more cost effective. This shirt here, I think I've had for 3 or 4 years. So I was doing the right front there. I wanted to put it back so you see what I'm doing, because for me, I've been doing it so long that it's just really automatic. I just move on to the next piece. So now that we've got the right front, we're going to move on to the back. So you just pick it up, push your shirt over. And again, we're going to keep this seam right there because we're going to need to iron all the way up to that. Again, I hold the bottom like so. Now people say, I can't iron. I don't know how to iron. It's not rocket science. You're just taking a piece of fabric and you're making it flat. I just shifted the shirt just a little bit that way, that's all. And the important thing is to spend, you know, I know how it is when you're growing up and you're kind of broke. You know, spend a little bit of money on the ironing board. You can see mine is dirty. I'm a little embarrassed to put it on TV and let everybody see it because it is so dirty, but by the same token, I've had it for a really long time, so it just goes to show you that, you know, you spend the $12, $20 or whatever it is for an ironing board these days, and you're going to have it for a while as long as you take care of it. Mine isn't in the best shape. I probably could use a new one, but at this point, I'm keeping it like it is. So now here comes the part where almost everybody just doesn't understand and they can't get it right. Sleeves. Okay, so you grab it at the armpit, right here where this, you'll see it, it's like a little square where all the fabric overlaps there. You grab it at the armpit and you grab it at the cuff, all right? And when you do that, you lay it down on the board on a little bit of an angle. So that way you can get this nice long sleeve flat on the board and you're not hanging off anywhere. If you're hanging off the board somewhere, then that means your sleeve is probably not going to come out straight. So seams in this above shot might be a little better, but seams, you'll see that you'll have a portion where it's kind of doubled over. That is the marker for on where you start your iron from. The crease will automatically go where it's supposed to go as long as you always line up the seam on the bottom. On the bottom seam, it's the seam that goes up your arm on the bottom, because dress shirts are always sewn right here at the bottom. That's the seam you line up, and that's where your crease comes from. There's no guessing or where you want the crease to be. Don't bother with that. If you try and make it to where you want it to be, you're going to cause yourself more grief than it's worth. So now my shirts, because I've been ironing them for so long in the same fashion, they tend to lay down really nicely for me on the ironing board. Makes my job just a little bit easier. So first thing I do is I go all along that seam on an angle with the iron. You'll see on an angle or on a perpendicular to the seam. So I'm going over this way, all right? And I flatten that out. Now that that's all flattened out, I take the iron the other way and I push it straight up. Straight up. Straight up. Straight up. And then for the top part, I come in at another little bit of an angle. My iron is just like this to the shirt. And what that's going to do is help chase that fabric down that way and make a nice clean crease. Now when you want to finish the crease, after you have established the crease, that's the first thing we did. We established the crease, and now we're kind of baking it in with the steam, right? Once that crease is done, that's done, you flip your cuff just like this, Remember, mind the buttons. I'm going around the buttons. Drag this back, and you ironed your cuff. That's how you do a sleeve. And you'll get that nice razor thin crease. Same thing now. Again, with my shirts, I lay them up on the board, and they just kind of know where to go. And if you do the method that I just did, where you grab it at the shoulder and you grab it at the cuff and you lay it on the board like this, then you can push your fingers like so and drag that seam back. We'll pull this out. So you can always use your hand at first to feel the fabric underneath as well. Make sure you don't have any creases underneath, because you'll iron those in. And there you go. So now my seam is set. I've rolled the fabric nice and tight on the seam, so it goes, the seam is on top, and then the fabric rolls right underneath and goes, because I'm talking about this piece right here, this seam. It goes right and straight up, and then that is where my crease is gonna be determined by that seam. So same, just as the other side. I start with some steam, and then I push it out. There you go. Now, I'm not using a lot of pressure either. Not a whole lot. I got a little bit of downward force, but not much. You don't need much. The fabric should kind of lay where it's going to lay. And there you have it. That's another seam. Look at the crease. Perfect. So again, cuff. Flip the cuff over. When you flatten it out, I roll it this way, and I stop as soon as I hit the button, and then I just do this little top flap here piece, and that's it. So now we've made our way all the way around the shirt, right? We got the front left, we got the front right, we got both of our sleeves for the creases. Now we're going to come back, and the last thing you do is the collar. You're going to do the collar in 2 to 3 steps. Okay? You're going to fold it down, and you'll see this crease right here. That's step 1, we'll call that. All right? So that way, when you wear your shirt, you get that fold in there. You iron that down so your collars aren't flying away and you don't look like a dork. Step 2, do the other side. I fold it down right to that seam, right where the collar, the flap part of the collar meets the actual inside where the button is here. There you go, flatten that piece down. And then the third, you can do the center where the back of your neck would be, where the tag is. 1, 2, 3. Now when you hold your when you put on your shirt, your collars are going to face down, and you're going to look nice and clean. Look at thrift store. Somebody else's initials. I think I paid a few dollars for this, not even. So that's shirt number 1. I'm gonna run through this one. This shirt here, I actually bought. I bought this one in Thailand. Geez, I don't even know how much I paid for this. It wasn't more than $1 or $2. I got it at a market. So yeah, got it at a market. Fair enough. May want to pull some fabric, depending on the cotton and whatnot. You may have to pull it down a little bit because it may shrink up a little bit when you wash it. Pockets aren't a problem. You go up on an angle this way, up on an angle this way. Those are your 2 steps. and then you take the flap, you fold it down nice and flat, and you give it a whack with the iron this way, and then you fold it down the other side, make sure the other is good, and then you give it a flat whack down that way. Bend it around underneath the button, and that's it. Your pocket's ironed. Doesn't have to be rocket science. You don't have to make it really complicated. This one again, the shirt shrinks up a little bit, so boom. So we got our left front. Remember, we rotate it right to the left shoulder. There was a little piece right there, but you can get that with the front edge of the iron. Don't ever touch your iron. It's going to burn you. It's hot. Don't use abrasives on the iron as well. That's not good. Abrasive meaning like those green scrub pads or steel wool or something like that. Most of the time your iron is going to have a coating on it, and that coating is not like a non-stick kind of coating. And if you use some kind of abrasive, steel wool, or the green scrub pads, or even like something like this that you might wash your dishes with or whatever, that's not good. You don't want to use that scrubbing part. It's going to tear up your iron, and you'll be buying a new one. Same thing, pocket again. Push that out. Push that out. Now, you'll notice, you may be able to see, I'm not sure that, it's not 100% perfect. Again, I do this, I work 4 days a week, so I got at least 4 button-down shirts that I wear per week. So, you don't want to consume your whole day ironing shirts, but I'll be completely honest with you. Just ironing your shirts will make you look better. People will perceive you better. They will treat you better. They will think you're smarter just because you ironed your shirt. They'll think you're cleaner. Lord knows I'm not clean. Look at all the stuff on this behind me on this rack I got back here. Look at all that crap. I'm not dirty by any means, but I'm not the cleanest guy. But you know what? When you see me, and my shirt is ironed, and my hair is done, and that, they take you different. People take you seriously. Job interviews. Don't ever go to a job interview with a wrinkly shirt. You won't get the job. Because if you can't iron your shirt, well, what else can't you do? So, boom, boom. Make sure that seam is down. Now you'll notice there I kind of chased the fabric, if you will. I kind of pulled it while I was going with the iron. Just like I did there, kind of pulling it out. Just making sure that there's no wrinkles on the bottom piece of fabric. Because remember, you got 2 pieces of fabric. You got one on the top and one on the bottom. And while the top may be flat, the bottom might not be. And the way I taught you, I do it a little differently, but the way I taught you is you grab the pit and you lay it on the thing. But this sleeve in particular, because of the way the ironing board is, I like to grab it by that shoulder like I showed you there. This is shirt number 2. Shirt number 2. I heard that they don't give out home economics classes anymore either in school. I think that's pretty sad because, you know, I remember my home ec teacher and all the things I learned, how to sew on buttons, and ironing I kind of learned from a little bit from my mom, and then I perfected it when I was in the military because I had to have so much practice. But you know what, when I was in the military, I had some of the cleanest BADUs. They were always razor sharp creases, and you can use starch. Starch is a product that'll help hold your creases, but you don't really need it, not as a civilian. I mean, I've never used it. And starch tends to clog your iron too. That's another reason why I never really liked using it. Every once in a while I would use it in the military if I knew that I was going to have a long day and I needed to really try and look good for final formation. But honestly, now I don't use it, especially because it, you know, clogs my iron, and I don't like that. Then I have to buy a new iron, and just a little cheap. Shirt number 3. There you have it. This shirt I got from the thrift store too. And they're all name brand shirts. It's not like they're cheap or anything. And I always check them out, you know, make sure that nobody soiled them or anything. Number one thing to always check when you buy a shirt from the Goodwill store or whatever thrift store you have in your area, make sure you always check the bottom of the back of the shirt. Let me take this one off and show you. This is the back of the shirt. This is the front. This is the back. Always check the bottom back of the shirt. Here's why. People don't wipe their ass. And you will get a line of skid mark, just like underwear, in the back of the shirt when you buy it used. Because people are just that gross. 1, wipe your ass. 2, inspect your shirt. And always wash it before you wear it. Okay. I know it's a little gross, but I had to say it. I had to say it. You know why? I've had that happen where I didn't buy the shirt. Luckily, I inspected them, but I've seen it on multiple shirts where, you know, somebody must just have had a rough day, or lunch just didn't sit right with them, and they pooped on themselves, and you got a line of poop down your shirt. So, fellas, make sure you always look, and ladies, if you're buying clothes for your fella, make sure you check that. Other than that, there's nothing wrong with a thrift store shirt. Nobody's going to know if you don't tell them, and quite honestly, I always get compliments on the shirts. I get compliments on the way I look every day because I actually iron. I met a friend in Vegas. It was my friend and her sister and her mom, and we were all getting around the hotel room, getting ready to go down to the games and stuff like that for the day. Oh, my iron is out of water. So we all go and getting ready, and the girls are done and whatnot, and I'm throwing a shirt and take a shirt out of my bag, and I had to iron it because it was just one of those shirts that you just have to iron right before you wear it. And they all laughed at me, but while they laughed, they were also kind of amazed that I actually ironed my shirt. Her mom actually said she hadn't picked up an iron in well over 20 years. Well, I've been ironing for 20 years, so plus. Jeez. All right, so that's our shirt. We got all our panels. we'll lay our sleeve down. This sleeve happens to be opposite because the double seam there is actually on the back side of the shirt. So we're gonna put this down toward the table, but that's okay, the ironing board, but that's okay, because we're just gonna do the same thing and roll the fabric back. I hope you can see this up there. So fabric, roll, and that's okay. And our seam's still gonna come out all right. I'm on the edge of the table there. It's gonna be kind of, edge of the board, it's gonna be kind of risky. Let me pull this way a little bit. Now what I'm doing is I'm pulling that fabric from the bottom because I can feel it. And this shirt, when you iron every day, you'll start to know your shirts. And this shirt is notorious for that, having a crease on the bottom side. Now this shirt has oddball cuffs. Actually the arms are a little bit too long for me, but I bought it from the thrift store anyway because I thought it was a really cool shirt, which I think it is still. So I fold it. You see how I do that there? So it's kind of like a French cuff almost. And yeah, you button it inside out and then you flip it right side out. So it forms that, but this one I just go around on the inside there, you can see, and I just go around like that, and good enough. And 99% of the time, people aren't even paying attention. They're looking for the creases in the sleeve. That's one of their telltale things. The creases in the shoulders is generally where they'll look. So again, I'm just pulling out that bottom piece of fabric, making sure we're nice and square. I can feel those wrinkles and pulling them out, going down the shirt, making sure my seam is set correctly. It's all about that seam, baby. Make sure you have your seam set. As long as your seam is set, and we're not even worried, like you may be able to see here, I don't know if here, but you can see even though this line is crooked, that's okay, that's all right. No problem. It's not about the lines or the decorations on the shirt, because chances are whoever sewed the shirt wasn't paying attention to that line anyhow, unless you get into hundreds, $200-300 shirts. That's when they really start matching up the fabric. But any of these general like shirts like these that are $50, $60, $70, they generally do not match the fabric up, the lines on the fabric, they don't match that stuff up, they just bang these shirts out. So nothing doing there. So again, I got these weird cuffs. Just flip it around like that. There you have it. 3 shirts. 3 shirts, 34 minutes. That's a long time. Well, there you have it. That's how you iron a shirt. 3 of them. Got questions, comments, concerns? Let me know in the links below. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to go through really simple things that everybody, you would think that they would learn them, but again, I've had conversations with my friends, and I've even had conversations with younger people who just don't know how to do really domestic stuff. Wash your clothes. What's the best deal at the grocery store? How to change a tire. How to check my oil. How do I lock my house? How do I save money when I'm getting started and I'm poor? These are all things that I'm really, really good at. So I really want to share them with everybody out there, anybody who needs it, and I really hope that you can benefit from it. So again, questions, leave them in the comments, shoot me an email, and definitely subscribe because I'm going to have some more cool videos coming out, all right? Take care till then.